the moon in Libra in the first, her learning her emotions based on reflections back from others, but she also said that she would finally know what she was upset about when she started crying. Fluids. Moon.
Ah, fluids, tear ducts. Moon rules the tear ducts.
Most of the time I don't know what I'm upset about. And I'm very psychic besides everything else, so it's like...
That can also be an 11th house Pluto.
It's pretty much I channel, and I'm luckier than my girlfriend because I channel people I know anyway, as opposed to her. She would channel the dog walking.
Very much, honey. So we're going to quickly move on to Jessie, and then we'll close up. All right, so one more example. Everybody look for Jess's chart. Start looking at your little examples. I'll just start us off so I keep us moving, all right? 6th house cusp, we see Pisces, and we see its ruler Neptune down there in 3rd in Sag. Now, anytime I see Pisces on the 6th house cusp, which again is when we have a Libra rising, we flip all the signs on the houses many times, but I would say that we would have a sensitive immune system. I'd say we would have a need to really strengthen the immune system. If we look at that ruler Neptune down there in the 3rd house in Sag, we can have a fluctuating immune system. Sometimes it's strong, sometimes it's weak. If we get any nerve stress, if we have any, if we get stressed out, then it goes immediately to the immune system and affects the immune system. Does that for most of us, okay? But can you see how it would especially do it for this person? So if she strengthens her nerves, see all those planets in Sag? See all those planets in the 3rd house? When she strengthens her nervous system, then she strengthens her immune system. And Uranus rules the nerves, and Uranus is down there in the 2nd house in Scorpio. This can be someone who came in with a stressed out nervous system and has had to really work with regenerating the nervous system. That again starts healing the immune system. We see that we have 3 planets square the nodes. Sun square the nodes, and we literally have Venus and Jupiter moving off of squares to the nodes. White orbs, we can still see where that can still come into play. You follow what I just said so far about that 6th house cusp? Yes. The immune system and the nervous system, the regenerating of the nervous system is very, very helpful for her to have a healthy, functioning immune system. We should stop and get a little background information from Jessica. Jess, did you live in a nervous system household? This is for the sake of the tape. We have heard from Jess a little bit on this one.
So when I was born, my mom had the RH factor with me, which is where one parent has a positive blood type, one parent has a negative blood type, and they actually have to give you, if you take on the paternal, the mom's body will try and get rid of the fetus. They had some issue with it. It was resolved. It didn't affect the birth. It didn't affect the pregnancy once it was addressed. I don't know how much that plays into things.
Nodes in Aries, Libra, 1st, 7th, kind of flipped around, so that polarity of parental blood. Yes, you can see that in a possibility in the nodes. Go on.
Most of my health issues, the large majority occurred my first 20 years of life. My last 10 years of life have been fixing all of the experiences, or most of the experiences that I had my first 20 years. But when I was probably 3, I had what's called fallen arches, where the arches in my feet totally collapsed, and they did some stuff to correct it, but it's created a lot of weakness in the joints in my foot, which later on in life, I grew 9 inches in a year. And so that created a lot of lax ligaments, and I was spraining my ankles I think I've done one 12 times and one 13 times, and it all happened within like a 3-year time period from the weakness in the joints already and then the growing.
May I stop you?
Mm-hmm.
Ankles, Uranus. In the second, in Scorpio. Okay? And so that's where some of that is coming from.
I've also, my knees, the first time my knee dislocated, I was 6. And it did it all the way up through, it did it consistently, and it just got less and less as I got older. I was down to about once every 3 years, and then it did it when I was 23, and it didn't happen again until I started doing Bikram yoga this year. So 7 or 8 years later, I did where I was going to yoga every day for 5 days a week for 40 days. And I did 2 classes in one day, and that afternoon when I was rock climbing, my knee dislocated while I was on the rock. And when I talked to the woman at the yoga studio, she said that a lot of times what happens is the body builds muscle tension to hold joints that are weak together, and it's not actual strength that's holding them together. So as I was stretching, I have not rebuilt. I finally stretched everything that was holding, and I haven't rebuilt it properly with my body structure, and that comes in time if you continue your practice. But my knees have improved, though. At one point in my life, I could not kneel on the floor. Now I can kneel on the floor and lay all the way back down on my back. So when I was younger, I had croup quite a bit, and then as I got older, it turned into, from about age 10 until I think the last time I had it, I was 18 or 19, I would get strep throat once or twice a year. My parents always treated it with antibiotics. By the time I hit my 20s, my early 20s, I had gone on birth control at 17 and started reacting to the birth control in my early 20s and severely reacting to it. I was having intense fatigue. I would have to go home and take naps every single day. I was having blood sugar imbalances. My skin was breaking out. I was having breakthrough bleeding. There was one period of time where I could literally go like this and just pull a chunk of hair out.
On the pill?
On the pill. And so they tried to adjust the hormones, and it just made it worse. And then I tried to go off, and again, things would flare up, and I couldn't get it stabilized. And so finally, that's about the time that I left and went to massage school. And part of my going there was I knew that I was going to Boulder, and the first thing I did was find an herbalist to start working with because I wasn't finding answers here. And so I started cleansing that year. I started doing colon cleanses. I was on herbs nonstop. I was taking so many supplements, and I started doing parasite cleansing also. And between the combination of the 3, my health turned around significantly. My colon started working really for the first time the way that it should.
Repeat for everybody the 3 things. Colon cleanses?
Colon cleanses, parasite cleansing, and just consistent herbal supplementation. I started changing my diet by that time. I went vegetarian at 14 and did not know a thing about cooking a healthy vegetarian diet, so I had been eating macaroni and cereal for Lord knows how many years, 6 or 7 years. So I was dealing with having to learning how to live as a healthy vegetarian, having 2 very heavy meat-eating parents. I started to gradually feel better and better. By the end of massage school, I felt like I had a completely different body, but I felt like I still had a fair amount of work to do. Did some really, really intense colon cleanses the following couple of years, and my health I haven't had a cold since I was 22. I was around, my boyfriend and his daughter were sick on and off for 3 months. One of them was sick consecutively last winter. I blew my nose for 3 days. That was it. And it didn't accompany any other symptoms. I still experience some joint weakness. I do experience kidney fatigue. I still deal with a little bit of acne. It's getting better. That's been a fluctuating thing on and off since the birth control. My energy level is higher than probably 90% of the population. My week consists of, I teach probably 5 indoor cycling classes a week. I weightlift 1 or 2 days a week. I rock climb 1 or 2 days a week. I teach 2 dance classes a week. I ride 130 to 150 miles on my bike a week. I do massage 10 to 15 hours a week. And I feel good. I don't experience fatigue. I'm amazed at how many issues I had when I was younger and how much medication I had taken. They also put me on Accutane with the birth control issues because of my skin, which wears out the kidneys. It just depletes the kidneys tremendously. And yet my body is now, my skin's very sensitive. My bladder, I get bladder infections. That's the one thing that I have not figured out a way to strengthen. I use herbs and acupuncture to treat it. Have not seen a Western physician since I was 21 years old. So I don't know, the resiliency of my body and the strength that I acquire every year blows me away in comparison to the way that I grew up. It seems like every year I just get stronger and healthier and stronger and healthier, and you always hear that, you don't feel as good with age, and it's been the opposite experience for me. I've become far healthier, and if I don't watch my diet, if I don't exercise at the level that I exercise, I start to feel very unhealthy, very sluggish, very sleepy. So the level of activity that I do actually stimulates me in a sense.
And perhaps we should let people know that you do eat a little bit of meat again now.
Yes, I started eating meat 9 months ago, and it's helped. I was having a lot of issues with, I couldn't get full because of the amount of activity that I was doing. I couldn't get full, and I was starting to have some muscle soreness that I just couldn't get rid of, and it was because I was doing so much physical activity and just not having enough protein for somebody that was working out as much as I do. My mom had breast cancer. My sister had a nerve disorder and also a brown spider bite that has resulted in an amputation. I don't know if the amputation would have happened had she not had a spider bite. She's had a fair amount of health issues. It's hard to say with her because I think a lot of the health issues have been created because of the medication she's been on. So it's hard to say genetically to link the two of us because of the medication that she's had. Father, alcoholism is his main thing. I think depression, never treated and never dealt with emotionally. So other than that,
Okay.
not much.
Okay.
That's it.
Thank you. A lot. Okay, I started making a few notes. Wide Venus square the nodes in Libra Aries, 1st, 7th. Can you see some of the kidney issues? So kidneys are about what? Processing through life, detoxifying. What do the kidneys relate to emotionally, Jess? I know you'll know that one. Joy?
Fear.
Joy and fear. Okay, there we go. Uranus in the 2nd house.
The Chinese emotion for the bladder also, the bladder and the kidneys is worry.
Yeah. Planets in the 3rd in Sag. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, there's such all that high energy, the Uranus, 3rd house, Gemini, it makes sense. And also I was going to say that the rulers of the 6th house and the 12th house are conjunct in Sagittarius down there in the 3rd, which I think is really interesting. So the spiritual, the physical and the metaphysical are combined in the same healing process.
Mm-hmm. Right,
which is
right.
nice, makes it a little easier.
Yeah. The Mercury-Neptune conjunctions can be, the strep throat, can be all of those, immune system issues that end up coming out as strep throat, as colds and flus, etc. And so very necessary to calm the nervous system again, to strengthen the immune system. I have a Mercury-Neptune conjunction, and I had the same thing. Lots of colds and flus, lots of antibiotics, and I had to learn nutritionally, through diet, exercise, and rest, how to strengthen that immune system so I wouldn't get so sick anymore.
The
Jess?
last time that I got strep throat, I did not take antibiotics for it. I was 18, so nobody else was making decisions for me. I never got it again, and I've been around people. I was just around a month ago around a 6-year-old that 5 days straight with her on untreated strep throat, we didn't know she had it, and she, kicked it by the time we figured out what it was, and nothing.
It's the soil, not the seed. And you've done so much to improve your soil, your body, that you can be exposed to germs, and they won't affect you as much as they used to. True for all of us. Can you also see with this emphasis of the nodal axis in Libra, Aries, 1st, 7th, the issues with the hormones? And then being put on the pill that really whacked out her hormones even more, created the acne. That then I just know Jessie's worked a lot nutritionally in correcting all those issues. What else? Anybody else starting to pick up on anything as you were listening to her?
I can't believe I forgot this. I am cold all the time. Unless I am in my haven of Tucson where it's 100 degrees, I am cold. My feet right now in this room where everybody else is probably warm, my feet are cold to the touch. My nose feels cold to me. My fingers are probably chilly. And my cold feels like it comes from the inside. It's been that way. I always wanted to play outside as a kid. As soon as it got cold, I didn't want to leave the house. I hated being outside because it was the only way I can warm up is getting in a bathtub. Sometimes a shower isn't enough because there's air around you.
So the planets in the cardinal signs.
Sun and Capricorn on the IC.
Sun and Capricorn on the
Saturn
IC.
and Virgo on the 11th.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you can see all of the circulation issues. So this is where then you would probably want to work with some of the herbs that produce heat to help the body, warm up. But there can be circulation issues and a need to be very, Jessie's very good at cleanses, so she's always cleansing the blood. So you've probably helped yourself out much better, but you're going to continue to want to be improving the blood. I would say the blood purifiers with this cardinal cross so activated, but blood purifying herbs, because most of the herbs that I know as blood purifiers, the dandelion root, burdock root, yellow root, they are also tonics that build up the blood over time. They not only detoxify, they strengthen. And so those might be helpful as a protocol for you. I also would say possibly the Cancer Capricorn cell salts, which are so helpful for the physical body and the whole circulation issue. They may be good ones that you might find some help with as well. Go ahead, Jess.
I'm curious, because I do have skip steps, how, if at all, there was an issue of me needing to come back in and essentially reclaim my health, or
Yes, Sun and Capricorn square those nodes. You really had to work on your health this lifetime, or it would have debilitated. Is that correct? Your soul even more. Sun, yeah, debilitated. You've got a wide Sun-Pluto square, so that can be a signature of decreased vitality, stress. you know.
I look at it as a huge gift. I mean, it's really been, it's led me to my career in everything that I've done is centered around health and wellness and healing and,
Yep.
you know, healing on all levels. So,
Mhm.
I almost look at it as a way to retrieve maybe those skip steps. I don't know. I'm just guessing.
Well, and you know, they're all on their way out. So it was like it's the other side of the skip steps. So it's like you're figuring it out. This was the lifetime to put it together.
And Kimberly, I just have a quick question. I don't know if it actually applies to Jesse's chart, but the sun in Capricorn is says a skip step, I would think. Sun in Capricorn is so hardy. You know, the idea of just like a hardy constitution.
Not
Not necessarily.
necessarily.
It could be a weak. So it's
You
reclaiming
see the
hardy
hardiness
constitution?
of the physical body many times through that Taurus and Scorpio. You either see the
Okay.
weaknesses there or the strengths there. You know, Capricorn, it can show some strength, but it can also show, you know, debilitation. You look at the ruler of Capricorn is Saturn at 0 degrees Virgo. This is a woman who, if she didn't come here to address her health, Virgo could really, you know, create some trauma for her health. Also look at Saturn, remember, ruling the bones and the skeletons, and Saturn rules the knees. Remember how she would keep dislocating her knees all the time? I would say that with Saturn in the 11th in Virgo, there would be a poor assimilation of minerals. So very important to have good, adequate mineral uptake, which there again, the bioplasma cell salt might be a good one because you're getting all 12 cell salts. Also, there's could also be a possibility of this because Jupiter and co-rules so much with Saturn, and there's Jupiter square these nodes, and so I'm also, you know, wondering if that could also be part of a less than optimal assimilation system. Okay, so, you know, it's probably not so much an issue for her anymore, but, you know, when she was the young, you know, teenage vegetarian, and I'm not going to eat meat, but I'm going to live on dairy products and mucus grains, processed food, can you see how that created a sluggishness in the fluids of the body, which then created that sluggishness of the immune system? I mean, Jesse's probably went a long ways towards correcting that. But you can see the propensity there for it. Paying attention to the blood, adequate mineral uptake. You know, the other one is the ankles. You put Saturn in the 11th house at 0 degrees Virgo, and it's retrograde. There could be the ankles, too.
That's the reason I don't run. My ankles and knees. I love it, and I physically get, there's too much pain. Cycling, I get no pain. So, you know, I can do it for days on end and there's nothing. But if I go for 2 miles, I'm up in the middle of the night with aching.
You know, another thing, when you put Saturn in Scorpio, that's a generation that can have some genetic sensitivities. You look at it relative to the rest of the chart, and there could possibly be genetic sensitivities to the kidneys. You know, with that
What was that?
genetic sensitivities. Uranus in Scorpio.
Oh, okay, you said Saturn. and it's like,
Oh, I'm
you have the
sorry.
wrong chart.
Correct my Neptune. It's been a long week.
It's been a long week.
So Uranus in Scorpio, also Uranus in the second, can say that there could possibly be some, you know, genetic weaknesses in various areas. With that tied into the fact that she's got this cardinal activity in her chart, you know, you could see the kidneys with the Aries Libra situation, the Venus situation. Bladder, where's the moon? Moon up there in the 10th. In Mars. Okay, we haven't looked at this one yet. Mars moon up there in Leo in the 10th. Could we have dehydration, possibly dehydration issues? Is it important to you to have lots of water?
I drink a gallon a day when I'm at home.
And when you don't?
I don't feel good. I always tell, they make fun of me when I ride because I carry a Camelback and 2 bottles of water, and then I usually have to stop and refill. And they'll they'll ask me, do you really need that much water? And I just tell them, you don't want to you don't want to know, you don't want to find out. I'm so grouchy if I don't have water. It really it affects my emotions, actually.
Moon Mars, it would. Moon Mars, getting angry if you don't have enough fluids in the body. Fluids in the heart, too. And so I could see the exercise, really almost like, helping out the heart, that Moon, Mars, and Leo. And that Sun, Pluto square. Yeah. The other thing about the Uranus in Scorpio or the polarity second, you can work with rejuvenation issues. Just like you can work with some genetic areas of weaknesses, you can also see the rejuvenation potentialities. And look at this, Uranus in the second in Scorpio. Not only am I going to survive, I will figure out how I can flourish and rejuvenate myself and be healthier and healthier and healthier as time goes by, versus running down. There's a nice one out of that Uranus, Scorpio. Oh, yes, and Uranus Scorpio does have, a fair amount of stressful aspects. To the Moon, to Mars, we've got those squares going on. We got a semi-square to Venus. That could be some of the kidney stuff. And it also has a sesquiquadrate to Jupiter. So there could be some of the assimilation issues that you've had to work with so much. Now, blessing for you. You got that Venus in Capricorn, trine Saturn in Virgo, trine Chiron in Taurus. So there's the determination, those earth signs, to create health. I would say that you could see they coming in overall with that. Who else? Anybody else? Can you see anything? Oh, the RH factor. Again, the Aries Libra stuff, the first house, seventh house stuff.
The blood.
The blood. Yeah. Yep. Chris?
I also would say that there might be some circulation issues with the Jupiter opposed the Sun, the ruler being that Mars moon in Leo. So there's an emphasis there on, heart kind of things. And the coldness seems to me to be an indicator of something that you should pay attention to, because coldness is usually the first flag for circulation.
It's been that way since I was a child.
Yeah,
Very
well,
young.
sure it has.
So there's a genetic circulation
Yeah.
issue.
Like
that you-
it doesn't, like what I was thinking was, it doesn't mean that you have circulation problems, but that's sort of like a flag saying, Jesse, pay attention, right? So, there's a configuration here that creates a potential maybe for you to go that way. I don't think you're going to go that way because of all the things you do, but, you never know, right? And there's no harm in paying attention to it.
I try. Kim knows. I've been trying to figure out what to take and
For the
working with an
circulation.
acupuncturist
Yeah.
and energetic balancing, and I haven't mastered it yet. I feel like that's one that I haven't been able to even scratch. Most of the issues that I've experienced, I've been able to tackle a large majority, or at least have the knowledge that I know this is the road I have to continue down. Even with the urinary stuff, I figured out how to treat it naturally rather than having to get it treated with antibiotics. But the circulation, I still have yet to even tap on one thing. It's improved as my health has improved, but it's still, I won't notice it as much in Arizona, but as soon as I come here, it's like, or as soon as January hits in Arizona, those January, February, I'm just in the bathtub every day.
Have you tried cayenne pepper as a supplement, an herbal supplement?
No, I haven't. That's a good idea.
I would say so. I mean, that's just what I keep getting, the heat.
Now, what I find, and this is, my acupuncturist is having an issue with this because if I take hot stuff or eat hot foods, it heats up my core, it heats up my center. And bladder infections, for example, are too much heat in the bladder channel, excess heat in the bladder channel. So he's nervous about having me, not nervous, but doesn't know if it would be a good idea if I should be taking heat producing herbs, because really what ends up happening is my core gets hot, but I still feel cold in my hands and
How
legs.
about cayenne pepper tinctured so that you bypass the digestive system?
Ah, that might work. That might be the ticket. Okay.
Working with that. Also, you know, the common thing is cayenne powder sprinkled in the soles of the shoe, inside the shoes. Oh, that's a old, you know, what do you want to call it? Old remedy. I'm trying to think, you know, my brain is like not, you know, but yeah, those two things, try those two things. You can easily sprinkle cayenne inside your shoes, and that will heat the feet up from the outside or from the circulation side. Again, getting the heat in the body in a way that bypasses the digestive system. And that's what I like so much about tinctures. It goes directly to the bloodstream. Something else? Anything?
I was going to ask if you had any suggestions on strengthening the bladder, and you may have said this already, but I don't know if there's anything specific with what's going on in my chart or just anything across the board. You know, I've worked with juniper a little bit, and
Corn silk.
that I haven't done.
Corn silk, the herb corn silk really is good for helping regulate the bladder.
Okay.
What else? Anybody else know of anything? Herbs for the bladder. Yeah.
Just for the record, because we're talking about a lot of physical stuff, I noticed the biggest changes as soon as I started addressing emotional stuff as well. So,
course.
you know, just for the tape.
So, as you watch transiting Pluto go over your Venus and oppose your Jupiter in Cancer, you're going through another phase of addressing the emotional body. And I would say as you balance out emotionally and you're not flip-flopping so much anymore, cardinal cross, Pluto conjunct that north node there, you know, in Libra first house, you see the flip-flopping, okay? I would say as you address that stuff emotionally, you might notice some of those circulation issues smoothing out. I mean, if you're cold, to me that means you've got to, you know, open up and allow life in. Pam?
No, I was just noticing also that her nodes, the ruler of the south node in Aries, the ruler of the north node in Venus, Libra, both of them kind of go back to that Saturn in Virgo in the 11th house. And looking at that, I get a little cold in a weird way.
And why do you say that?
Because you've got Sun in Capricorn, ruler of Capricorn, Saturn in Virgo. You've got Venus in Capricorn,
and there's Mars in the 10th.
Yeah,
More circulation issues.
Yeah, and I really wonder if the cold stuff also is past life stuff. I know this is body, but you wonder if that maybe is something that could be brought in there.
Yes, could easily be.
And that 11th house can be isolating. You know, Aquarius can be an isolation process. There's a part of an individuation process that you get isolated. And it could be like a literal manifestation of you feeling isolated. You know, who knows? I mean, just blabbering. I'm just no definitive.
Yeah, and while I'm at it, if I can just interject, Sue, Kelly Murr, the Gemini, for the lymph nodes,
Okay.
the sensitive lymph. Go ahead, Sue.
Yeah, and I would just say in reference to what Pam just said, you can't just treat the body. You have to bring in the emotions, and especially for you, because of that Sun square the nodes and that Moon Mars in Leo. You know, like I mean, it's you're probably that's your window into it, or your door into it, or whatever, or your dynamite into it, I guess, Leo, right? That's how you're going to blow it up, because it's when you take charge, son, of your emotional body, right, and get it clear that a lot of these things are going to fall into place, and that's what you were supposed to do when you came here, right? And then you're supposed to like package it and sell it to us.
Cell salt Capricorn. The cell salt Capricorn is helpful for the kidneys. And of course, the cell salt Aquarius is helpful for circulation, blood, ankles. So I would say, those two. You might look and see if there's others, but I'm just noticing those. Okay. All right, what else? Anything else? I've gotten through everything on my notes. Anybody else? Are we kind of, we've done good. We've done good. We've hung in there. Jess?
Is there anything with the eyes in there?
Oh, Sun in Capricorn, Moon in the 10th. So there can be constrictions in the eyes.
Do we have anything transiting right now that would...
Pluto moving into Venus, Pluto, working. What I find for the eyes to really improve eyesight is blood purifiers. Those herbs that I mentioned as blood purifiers, which are dandelion root, burdock, and what's the other one I'm forgetting? Yellow dock root. Those are great for helping out eyesight when you take those herbs. I have literally I've done on-off regimens with the blood purifiers for years. Every time my eyesight kind of starts fading a little bit, I go, when's the last time I was taking my blood purifiers? I better get back on them. When I first started taking blood purifiers, I went in and got my eyes checked once, and the dentist said, "What are you doing?"
You mean the optometrist?
Optometrist. Oh, you can tell when Mercury Neptune is done teaching, can't you?
Kim, the reason the dentist said that is because you went to the dentist to get your eyes checked, Mercury Neptune.
Anyway, when I went to the optometrist, this was back in my early days when I was just starting to get into nutrition, and of course, I wasn't raised with nutrition. So it was back in the early days, and I don't consider myself to have had the healthiest of diets, and I did not have a very healthy functioning colon yet, but I was into my blood purifiers. And I went in for the regular checkup, however it was, once a year, every other year, and the optometrist said, "What are you doing?" Because I had improved my eyesight like 10% in one eye, 15% in another eye. In other words, I had eliminated an astigmatism in my eye. And that was just through the blood purifiers. Oh, yeah. It's just like, iridology is a whole wellness system that is a diagnostic system in itself that can just show areas of imbalance before they're going to manifest, and then also show you areas to heal. So that's the recommendation comes to the top of my head.
Dandelion and what else?
Yellow dock. And yellow dock is when you're driving around our northern plains prairies, and you see this time of year, you see that weed that'll grow up about 2-3 feet, and it's just literally dark brown. That's yellow dock, and yellow dock is full of iron, and that's why.
Very quickly, what were the couple of supplements you said for the nervous system?
For the nerves, valerian root, that's before sleeping, and a passion flower during the day. There's many nervines, but I like those two. Passion flower is also good for women because it calms down the brain when you're going through menopause. but it's a great one to just calm down nervous energy. Foti, the Foti root.
I'm looking at our transits right now, and Neptune's sextile Mercury, and Uranus is, it says it's separating from square Mercury. What does Mercury have to do with the eyes? Does it have anything to do with that, or?
Mercury's the thyroid. Mercury's the left brain. I don't know if that would fall
okay.
in. Mercury is the nerve system.
Did that have something to do with the eyes?
Yeah. Optic nerves are sun, moon. Okay, so, and you know, she's got Pluto approaching this conjunction to the sun. You know, it could be something with progressions or solar arcs, could be in the solar return chart.
Do you understand why I'm asking?
Yes, I do. So, it could be the solar return chart, though. We could maybe need to look in that area. Okay, this latest solar return chart. Anybody else? Are we complete for the moment? Any questions on anything? Ready to go eat? All right. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank all of you very, very much. I did it! Okay, don't make me cry.
Great job, Kimberly. Thank you. Awesome.
Well, thanks, you guys. All right.